Now then, it is the 5th of January 2023. Ye gads. Yeah, anyway, I've made the firebox bigger. Last firing we did, Kevin suggested that the firebox wanted to be longer, and then I've watched a couple of videos by or about Nick Collins, and the firebox on his kiln is ginormous, and I just thought, okay, let's bring it longer. So I made the firebox about 9 inches longer, but I've made it 6 inches wider, so we can get quite a lot more fuel in there when we need to. Now, we started this firing at 11 o'clock and now it is 11:40, and we're just warming things up, and we're getting quite a bit of steam out of things, and the chimney's warming up. And we started at 11 degrees, so ambient temperature was 11 degrees. Let's just have a look somewhere here. There we go. We're on 60 degrees now. That's in 40 minutes. We don't want it to rise much, we don't want it to rise that quick really. I think I'll rake a bit of the fire out and slow things down, but I think this has a potential to do much better. Once the chimney's warmed up and once all this steam and bits of smoke have finished, of course the warmer the kiln gets, the warmer the chimney gets, the greater the draw. So it's early days. I can't really tell whether this is steam or smoke or what, but there was a lot of the bricks were a bit damp, so, and they've had about a week to dry, but you know, it's the end of December, middle of January, so things don't dry that awfully quickly. We've got about 16 pots in there, something like that. So anyway, it's a start. I've just got to fill in the kiln chart and we'll crack on. Okay, it's 12 o'clock. I've put an extension onto that firebox damper, firebox partial door, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, and everything's steaming away still, and we're up to, where are we now? There we go, 79. So that's an hour to get up to 79. So I did rake out the fire and slow it right down, and we can just keep pottering along. I think probably because we can put slightly longer and bigger stuff in, it can, we don't have to micromanage it quite so much, so I can get on with other things like welding that piece on. And if you notice, on top of the layer of fire brick and kiln shelf, we have got some thermal block. Now I cut that down, that's 3 inches thick. Yeah, so just an experiment to see what happens. And I got hold of, and let's just zoom round all this mess. Here we got a load of tops from a standing dead sycamore, so it's relatively dry, so we'll use that up. And coming round here, I got hold of two of these. They're thermalite blocks, quite heavy duty, and I can mark them out and cut them with the disc cutter, and then cut the little piece in the middle that a disc cutter doesn't get to, with an old worn out handsaw, one of those hardened ones that came out of a skip somewhere. Because these, they're that soft you can cut them with a saw easily, but trying to cut that width is a bit, it drags on the saw a bit because the saw's old, and I wouldn't want to use a good one on that sort of thing. So using the disc cutter with that diamond blade first, absolutely marvellous. So as you can see, there we go. So we'll see what those thermal blocks do. Hopefully they'll keep the heat in without degrading. I'm just interested to know what the properties of this material is. Will it handle 1100 degrees before it starts to fall apart? Somebody should know. Otherwise I'm just going to have to do an experiment. But this kiln at the moment is absolutely full of pots and various bits, and there's a couple more fire bricks in there as well being fired. So there wasn't room to put a piece of this cinder block or thermalite block in there and take it up to well, we're going to take this up to 850 hopefully. So take it up to 850 and see what it did. Right, cracking on. Well, that seems to be doing quite well. I've just been off doing other things, which is a benefit, and now we're on 145 and it is 12:30 just gone. So an hour and a half to 145. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. And it seems to be sort of staying at about 140, 145, just trying to ease up. So I think maybe just a bit more in the firebox. Should do. Right, I'll record that and then get on with something else for another half an hour. And if you notice there, that's interesting, because I opened that door, the temperature went down. There you go. Because the firebox is wider, when you open the door you let a lot of colder air in. Interesting. And it'll probably take a few minutes to get back up to temperature. Okay, getting quite a bit of smoke coming out of this. Have to go and search around for the odd leak. But what temperature? We are now at 1:30, so that's an hour since the last video clip, and from what I remember we've gone up 90 degrees because it was 180, wasn't it? So I'm going to put some more wood in this fire, and now apparently on one of my last videos there was a comment from a viewer, and I thank you very much for that, and I did reply to it that the area around 550 to 650 you've got to be a bit careful. That's degrees centigrade, because that's when vitrification starts or something like that. But we're not there yet. So let's put some more wood on this, and then I'll go off and do something else again, which is the benefit of this bigger firebox, which is great. So, smoke coming out of the chimney. It's not that dark. There's plenty of it though. But on the kiln itself, we've still got a lot of steam coming out of all these bricks that I've recently used. So I'm assuming that's steam. It certainly looks like it to me. Anyway, it's 2 o'clock, so let's just go and have a look at the temperature. If I can get this through the steam, I think we can. Where are we? There we are. 393. So we've gone up another 100 degrees in half an hour. Whee, look at all that steam. Anyway, 394, still, we're still rising at about probably 3 degrees a minute, which is the same as the gas kiln was, wasn't it? 3 or 4 degrees a minute. So we're going to crack on, but when we get to about 550, wait, look at that steam coming everywhere. We'll steady up. Right, it's 2:30 and we're on 470. That's pretty impressive. And I don't know whether we can see, but we have, where is it? That beam is just in the wrong place. But we've got the chimney damper at about half. And so if I add some more firewood, I'm going to close the chimney damper for that brief time when the top of the firebox is open. But we're doing very well. I'm quite pleased about that. Where are we? 469. So it'll be 470 in a minute. I'm starting to put bigger chunks of firewood on there because obviously the firebox is bigger, which is great. I'm still assuming this is moisture coming out of these new blocks and all that sort of thing, because the chimney is, but there's a lot of heat haze, but it's burning very clean, so that is not smoke. Anyway, let's crack on. I'm just going to close the chimney damper and put some more firewood in this, and we'll wait for another half an hour. So it's 3 o'clock. I've just put some more wood on. These things are still steaming like mad. Can we see through the murk? We can. 526. I suppose those thermalite blocks will be holding a lot of moisture, because where I got them from, they were just stood out in the wet, and they probably had done for a number of months. And of course they're full of little holes, so but I tried to dry them, had them stood in the dry for there. It's 527 now, for at least a month, if not a bit longer. But yeah, still steaming away, but that's besides the point. I suppose that represents heat loss, but the thermalite blocks themselves only feel very, very slightly warm, and of course with water in them they will transmit the heat better than if those little pores in the blocks were air, in which case it would be an insulator. So we're learning, but definitely this bigger firebox is a bit of a boost actually. So I've been doing some welding today. I've baked some bread. I'm doing a bit more pottery, and I just have to keep an eye open on the time and come back every half an hour, which is wonderful. Okay, it's 3:30. The light's starting to go, but the fire's going well. We had a bit of a, well, it was holding back. Let me just lift the camera up a bit. Right, where are we? In amongst the fog. I can't see where it is. Anyway, there we go. 602. Yeah. So we're moving on, but it was holding back. I had to really give it a bit of beans to. It's one of those little stoppages you get, and it could be something to do with the process of the vitrification starting, and of course the vitrification may take more energy, so therefore the temperature is not going to rise so much because the energy has been taken in within the clay itself. But hopefully we've moved on from that. It seems like it. Cracking on. Okay, we're on 4 o'clock and the light is going, but we're on 6:58 and the fire is quite bright. So I just have to keep working at this. Still got this steam. Obviously because it's rained a lot and materials have got wet before I used them and all that sort of thing. I'll put some more wood on the fire. So it really is getting dark now. There we are, 8:10. It was up to 8:16 short about 2 minutes ago, and we're at 5 o'clock, and that'll do. It really is sort of very dark, and the wind's getting up, so I'm going to call that a day. I'm going to block off as much of the firebox as I can, and I'm going to close the chimney damper, and that'll do. See, it's rising again now. Right, it's the next day. Let's have a look. So these thermalite blocks are intact, although mighty warm. There's a few little surface cracks. And that's a couple of homemade fabrics. Now this one was cracked already. Very cool on that side, nice and warm on the other side. I thought I had, oh here we go, got it. This is a mixture of home clay and sawdust. Just enough sawdust to make it workable. So that was a bucket of small bits of home clay soaked in water for about a couple of days, and then I needed to seal the kiln, so add the sawdust and mix it all up. Right, okay. What do we got? I suppose we better zoom in. Okay, it's just a beaker and a cup with Thetford clay slip just wiped on it, and another cup with a white slip on the inside. And then the granddaughter made a couple of, what do you call them, coasters. Then that is a top of a, it's not the top of that one. Right, we're going to have to move stuff, aren't we? But we could do a bit more yet. And the granddaughter made that little cat. That's Luna. And another mug. That's Friscony clay. And a larger mug made out of the clay that came with that small round kiln. It's quite a nice colour actually, isn't it? Ah, I think that is the top to that. There we go. There's some more here. And another mug, but that's white slip on home clay. And that is Friscony clay with a white slip interior. And of course they'll get decorated with words or something like that. And a little jug. What else have we got in here? Oh yes, I'm quite pleased about that one. That's Friscony clay with this white slip decoration, which was I made a foam stamp. That's pretty good. I like that. I like that quite a lot. I think there's some more in here yet. That's the basket for the granddaughter's pussycat. And another mug. That's pretty good. Little bit of black there. And it was Andy Ward from Andy Ward's Ancient Pottery. Told me that that is the organic matter within the clay that didn't quite get burnt out because of it was on something. think there's a lid in there. Here we go. Yep, and there's the lid for that. So that is a, again, that's the kiln clay, but with Thetford slit. Anyway, I'll move that lot out of the way and we'll do the next layer. Moving on, another mug with white slit on Friscony, a white pussycat, and Luna's cup, which is a coil. Right, that can come out. Now, what else have we got here? We've got a jug with white slit, and a mug with white slit, and a pot with a lid, wrong one, there we go, and then another pot with a lid, and another pot with a lid, but the lid is cracked. So I think that is the only problem piece. It's cracked quite. Let's zoom down on that. Why it's cracked, I don't know. There, see? Very odd. But it looks like it's got quite warm. Yes, it's probably got quite a bit too warm there. Although it was in a place that wouldn't really get that warm. However, if it's 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, it's 1 out of 18, I'll take that. That's pretty good. And then the other thing that's down here is a couple more fire bricks, because I made them, so they needed firing. Okay, that'll do. So what have we learnt? I realised I was zoomed in then. So a couple more fire bricks. So what have we learnt? Well, the bigger firebox helped. I was able to put wood in it and wander off and do something else for 20 minutes or 25 minutes, because I was measuring the temperature every half an hour, and at that point, you know, it needed more wood in it. So it was sort of easier to handle if you're on your own, or firing by yourself. So the other thing is, definitely when we got above about 600 degrees or 550, then smaller material, smaller dry material, and from that point on you really need to be there most of the time just to keep the temperature rising. We were fiddling with the chimney damper, but really we'd got it at its sweet spot, so that was good enough. The other thing is I had to, and I'll swing the camera around, dig out a lot of the coals, Yeah, they're still glowing and burning, but they were blocking everything, the firebox up. So yeah, that had to get dug out, just so that the new timber, or the new sticks, had plenty of air to get to them, and the flames could get into the firebox. So that was but I only had to do that once at about 650 degrees or something like that, because it was just holding back then. So they're right, dig it out, and there was about maybe 6 or 7 shovelfuls. You'd think it would contribute to the heat, but I don't think it was. And then if you notice, I didn't use a grate, because I was using quite long bits of stick, maybe 2'6" long, so it didn't seem to need a grate. There you go. And here's the kiln chart. We started at 11 o'clock with 11 degrees, and it's a steady climb with a bit of a up and down towards the end. And at 5 o'clock we finished at 828, and it was pitch dark then, so I'd had enough. And also I didn't want to overfire stuff, and as we can see, wherever it is, I think that was slightly overfired. Bit disappointing, but that's just the nature of things. Comments please, especially people who know about firing temperatures and the vitrification point and all that sort of thing. But comments, and comments about the wares that we've produced. You know, what do you think? Are they a bit too esoteric, or a bit too commonplace, or are they just sort of interesting? Because I figure that, you know, pottery should be usable, and there you go. And maybe make a statement of locally produced, non-corporate, that sort of thing. And as Simon Leach says, it doesn't have to be perfect. You've got to make room for the potter. Yeah. So no point searching for perfection, which is, as a joiner in the past, you're always searching for, yeah, really good, not perfection, but very good. Whereas I think with pottery, it's like, that standard, is it usable? Does it look nice? Does it do the job that it's intended to do? And if there's a blemish on it, it doesn't really matter. Let's hear what you have to think, and I will catch up with you soon. Cheers for now.